In this world, everyone is a cell in the human body that is trying to survive an apocalyptic infection. Among the millions of red blood cells, Ryan is a rookie who dreams of a perfect life, until his host's body became infested with bacteria. As he continued struggling to survive, he met one of the hottest white blood cell girls, the one responsible for eliminating deadly viruses. On his first day, Ryan learned that his life mission was to deliver oxygen to all parts of the body, through a passage called the blood vessel. Once he was done studying all the pathways, the class was divided into groups and sent off to various stations. When his group arrived late to their station, the team leader screamed at them, disgusted at the fact that he has to deal with new rookies. As a punishment, he instructed each of them to pick up 2 boxes of oxygen for delivery, and said that with the current health crisis, their lives as red blood cells were about to become very miserable. As soon as the aortic valve opened up, the red blood cells began rushing through it, pushing heavy carts loaded with oxygen along the way. After getting lost while traveling to the stomach, the chief gastric cell was furious at Ryan for arriving late. Even if it's his first day, they can't afford to make any mistakes, because the body is no longer in a healthy state. The years of overworking, sleep deprivation, overeating ramen, and drinking has left the body in peril. While collecting boxes for another delivery, Ryan met a veteran red blood cell, who tried helping him deliver oxygen to the brain. On their way through the blood vessel, they noticed that it was being clogged by a brown squishy substance known as cholesterol. Roger cited the culprits, who he referred to as the LDL guys, a group of goons from the liver that occasionally use the blood vessel as their dumping site. He tried to chase after them, but the LDL took off immediately when they saw him. Roger was worried, because if this kept on going, the host would eventually have a heart attack. Once Ryan completed his first delivery trip, Roger told him to take a break, but when the team leader saw Ryan slacking off, he got angry and told him to get back to work. Suddenly, an air vent exploded right in front of them, releasing carbon monoxide into the blood vessel. The team leader was caught in the gas explosion and his body started reacting negatively to the fumes. But as Ryan tried rushing in to save him, Roger stopped him from getting closer, saying that he deserves to grovel in the dirt. The team leader and the other red blood cells who were exposed to the poisonous gas morphed into cell zombies. To top it all off, a group of ravaging bacteria appeared out of nowhere and began feasting on the zombies. As the bacteria launched towards Ryan and Roger, Lexia, a hot white blood cell, appeared and sliced through all the bacteria in no time with her blade. Ryan was stunned at the sight of the white blood cell in her huge nucleus that he couldn't help but stare. Mrs. Giant Cannonballs began fighting against the rest of the bacteria, and while Roger mourned the loss of his friend, and Ryan's mind snapped like a broomstick, Roger reminded him that their sole purpose as red blood cells was to deliver oxygen, no matter the cost, and no matter the consequence. He sacrificed himself by heading down the polluted part of the blood vessel in order to deliver oxygen to the brain. Ryan's grief worsened at the sight of losing his mentor, and he intended on following the same fate. But Lexia stopped him from meeting his demise. Together, they journeyed to the lungs and delivered the gaseous waste products. While they were there, they discovered that an episode of smoking by the host body was responsible for the carbon monoxide poisoning. Ryan wondered why the host would intentionally harm himself, but Lexia revealed that it was only going to get worse from here. On his way back, he saw a hot macrophage, whose skirt was soaked in the blood of a bacterium she had just killed. She silently walked past him, in the search for more foreign bodies to eliminate. Ryan's hands collided with the top of his cart, and the resulting sound triggered the macrophage, who quickly waved her machete in the direction of his neck. However, upon realizing that he wasn't a bacterium, she withdrew her blade and apologized for almost chopping his head off. The pain in her smile made him realize it wasn't just the red blood cells who were stressed out lately, but every other cell in the body. At the oral cavity, Ryan arrived with a canister of oxygen, only to discover that the mucosal cells were on fire as a result of an outbreak called a mouth ulcer. He rushed towards one of the fallen cells with the hopes of getting his receipt stamped. But an explosion from the wall of the cavity sent him falling to the ground, and his receipt was consumed by the flames of the ulcer. Due to a rupture in the mouth ulcer, a variety of hideous bacteria began infesting the oral cavity. They moved closer to Ryan and he cowered in fear, and as they were about to end his life, Lexia and 2 other white blood cells destroyed all of them and saved him. They sliced through the bacteria and ate them up using a special technique called phagocytosis. Once they were done, the oral cavity became flooded with a special liquid that washed away the remains of the dead bacteria, and restored it back to normal. Lexia commended Ryan for standing strong in the face of the attack, and she took off with her students. Back at the blood vessel, Ryan and the other rookies aired out their frustrations to one another. 2 senior red blood cells walked over to meet them, in the hopes of lifting their spirits. But the sprinklers began pouring PG grape juice into the blood vessel, and one of the older red cells suggested they relax for a change. And they followed him to the largest organ in the body, the liver. He took them to a restaurant where they could let go of their worries by hanging out with beautiful cells called hepatocytes. Basically, they're f***ing hookers. They offered them special drinks called ADH, which would reduce their stress by neutralizing the effects of the apple cider vinegar. Ryan was initially too caught up in his mind to have a drink, but with a little persuasion from the head hepatocyte, he chugged down a glass of ADH. The effect of the ADH had already begun working on the other red cells, and a black haze emanated from them as they let their anger out. Seeing how the rest of the workers were lazy, Ryan couldn't contain his anger and lost his temper at the head hepatocyte. The older red cell called Ryan over and tried showing him how all of them were dealing with difficulties because of the host. After a few hours, Ryan apologized to the head hepatocyte for the manner in which he spoke to her, and after a night of fun and relaxation, the red blood cells were finally ready to return to their duties. However, they were going to be 1 cell short, as the older red blood cell had gave up the ghost in the loving arms of a hepatocyte. He was taken to a special part of the building called the sinusoid, and his lifeless body was eaten up by a special type of macrophage called the Kupfer cell to release nutrients back into the body. Ryan couldn't help but cry, as he had now lost 2 red blood cells whom he considered to be close allies and mentors. Before he left, the hot girl kissed him on the cheek, but while he was blushing, Lexia appeared, so he quickly pulled his hands away. He tried explaining the situation, but she told him to be careful of gold diggers in the future. Meanwhile, in the brain, the chief brain cell urged the others to prepare for an arousal, and while they warned him of the risks associated with the body's unhealthy lifestyle, the commander insisted that they had no choice but to proceed. Within the entire body, an announcement told all the cells to abandon all their duties for this crucial task. They all gathered at the designated location, where they were briefed on their assignment. The chief brain cell explained that their mission was to create an opportunity for plot development by filling the spongy region in the man's plot. Ryan admitted to his senior that he had only delivered oxygen to the head before, so he has never experienced plot development. After letting those words out, 2 older red blood cells began bullying Ryan by cutting in front of him, and they made fun of him for never having experienced plot development. However, Lexia appeared, and when they tried mocking her for the same reason, she walked towards one of them and launched her sword at him. She was merely trying to kill a tiny insect standing in her way, but she made the guy piss himself. As Ryan expressed his gratitude, they invited him to join them on their patrol to the testes while he carried out his delivery. Together, they arrived at the testes, where the Serto-Lee cells were tasked with nurturing and caring for the sperms. Ryan was amazed at how the little sperm cells would